chapter on a haunted lighthouse.
Our lighthouse?
Let me show you something. I traced this map from the book on this piece of paper. There. Now, watch what happens when I superimpose this over this road map of the area. There.
The coast, right outside of River Heights. It matches the old map perfectly.
Yes. Took me over 3 years to find this small spot on the coast. I think if I'd been a treasure hunter, I never would have found it. But since I'm constantly researching ghost legends, I ran across mention of an old lighthouse in this area.
I've never heard of any legends surrounding our lighthouse.
Now, the story predates this lighthouse. It really pertains to a series of old caves, over which a lighthouse was subsequently built, but years later. The caves were the private vault of a pirate who sailed these coastal waters in the later 1700s.
Where do the ghosts come in?
Well, the good captain took 4 captured seamen of the King's Navy and sealed them into a room of stone to guard his treasure until his return.
Oh, that's awful.
Yes, unless you work in parapsychology. No spirit like a troubled spirit to make things really unpleasant for the living.
Troubled ghosts are active ghosts.
Yes, they love to make their presence known. For the skeptical among us, that's a theory we'll have a good chance to prove in just a few hours. And we'd better finish with the equipment. Would you two bring the mics and cables? They're fairly light.
Sure. And who made you the foreman? Come on.
George, didn't the professor say that a student gave him this book and that he's been looking for the lighthouse for 3 years?
Yes, why?
This book was checked out of a Los Angeles library last June.
He lied to us.
Why?
Nancy, I think we'd better call off a little seance tonight.
No, absolutely not. No, don't breathe a word about this to the professor, because he's up to something, and right now we have the upper hand.
But I want to know what it is before I go spend the night in a haunted lighthouse.
Well, one thing I'm sure of, that lighthouse is hiding something. We're going to find out what it is.
What I'd like to know is why we couldn't all ride out together.
Simple. The professor needed time to set up all his ghosts and goblins for us.
You really think he's going to try to scare us?
Oh, I bet we're in for quite a show.
If he's staging this, he's very good.
The rain I'm not sure about, but the rest I am.
The rest of what? Come on, inside, quickly. My apologies for the weather.
I'd have thought you'd been pleased. Ghosts must love this kind of night.
Now, who says so? Here, let me help you off with that.
Oh, I'll keep it on if you don't mind. It's freezing in here.
Well, a wet coat certainly won't help. Besides, I've got a room below all set up.
I'll bet.
Now, watch the steps, Nancy. They're damp and very slippery.
Okay.
Hey, this is first class.
Only the bare necessities, a little hot chocolate, snacks, as you may desire them, fresh fruit, cheese, whatever your wants, ladies.
This isn't a ghost hunt, it's a banquet.
What do you have here to ward off angry spirits?
Chocolate chip cookies. Maybe a while. There's no reason we can't be comfortable, right?
What's all this stuff do?
All this stuff listens. I have every part of this old tower rigged for sound. Believe me, if anything moves in this relic tonight, we'll know it.
That's what I'm afraid of.
So, the people came to believe that the tortured spirits of these imprisoned men haunted the passages of the old caverns and preyed on any living thing that came within the shadow of this piece of coastline. Entire ships and crews were known to vanish.
Oh, the fish.
What?
No, George.
No, Nancy, the fish. There were hundreds of them, dead by the base of the lighthouse.
What are you talking about?
Some dead fish, but I'm sure there's no connection with the legend.
It could be significant. Suggests a rather unpleasant possibility.
What's that?
That the spirits here were at rest until my activities stirred them up.
Could have gone all night without you saying that.
I'm sure it isn't that. We've already been here for over 3 hours, and we haven't had so much as a peep out of these machines. I'm afraid to say it looks as though this evening might turn into a bust.
Nancy. Nancy! Let's get out of here.
Be quiet.
No, it's coming down the steps. Don't you hear it?
We've waited 3 hours for this show to begin. How can we leave now?
I wouldn't be facetious, Nancy. The power of some spirits would amaze you.
Mine's not so bad either. Ghosts of the lost galleons who haunt the tower on the cliff, be gone.
What happened?
That's what happened.
Show's over. Well, I suppose you want me to, pack it all up and tell your father the deal's off.
I'm not sure he wants to cancel it.
Cancel what? What's going on?
My guess is the professor is hunting for treasure, and he didn't want anybody to know about it.
Why not? It's his property.
Yes, but it's not final. Your young friend Ned decided to get fancy when he was drawing up the sale papers in her father's absence. He threw in a clause excluding all rights under the ground.
Offshore oil rights are a big issue on this coast.
Nancy, I don't care about oil rights. Your father can keep them for the previous owner. I'm only interested in the treasure, if it even exists.
I think we'd better go talk to my father.
I find myself on the horns of a dilemma, Professor. If I walk away from your purchase, I'll be voiding a sale my client wants very badly. He and his wife are getting pretty old, and they might like to make a last trip back to Ireland.
Well, my offer still stands, Mr. Drew. I'd be willing to sign over any...
On the other hand, if there really is a handsome treasure someplace on that property, then as things now stand, they're entitled to it.
In my defense, sir, the treasure has been given up for lost for almost 200 years. It's hardly a sure thing. I'm taking a very expensive gamble as it is.
I'm going to surprise you, Professor. I'll make you a deal. I'll sell you the property, including all mineral rights and all bounties below the surface.
You're a fair man, Mr. Drew.
For double the original price.
Double.
And my client gets 10% of anything you find.
10%?
Take it or leave it.
I don't think I have much choice.
Oh, yeah. You could walk away from River Heights and our lighthouse.
I have a feeling if I'd been up front with you when I first got here, you'd have sold it to me for the original price, including all rights.
That's correct.
You're quite a man, Mr. Drew. Your daughter's pretty sharp, too. I accept your offer.
Good.
Good night.
Good night.
Does Jensen know about the professor's map and the treasure?
I told him, and he told me to drive the hardest bargain I could without losing the sale. Well, that was pretty close.
But he could be giving up a fortune.
Now, old man Jensen doesn't see it that way, George. Let's see, how did he put it? When it comes to looking for gold, try to be the one that sells the pick and shovels. That's the only sure way to get rich. I think Mr. Jensen will be very happy with tonight's arrangement. Well, night, George.
Good night.
Nancy.
Right.